Hello YouTube, this is BirdOPray5 again. This video is going to be the first time I use my future predictability index to determine how well a movie predicted the future. For a detailed explanation of how the FPI score works, please pause this video, click on the link that will be showing to go to my FPI explanation video. The movie I'm going to analyze today is Airplane 2, released in December 1982, the sequel to the classic comedy Airplane. There are major spoilers ahead, so if somehow you haven't yet seen Airplane or Airplane 2, just stop the video and go watch the movies first. I'll include Amazon links in the description, but you can also stream them via YouTube and probably other services. Whatever the score Airplane 2 earns from my FPI analysis doesn't add or take away from the fact this is an epic comedy, and you will be a better person for having seen both Airplane movies. With that, let's just get into the movie. The first prediction comes right about the 1 minute mark. There's a Star Wars style scroll of text. Among other things, the text reads, "At the close of the 20th century, construction of colonies on the lunar surface had begun, and with colonization came a new era in space travel." Basically, none of that happened. So I'm taking off 3 points here. I was tempted to take off a solid 5. But the truth is, we did have our first space tourist way back in 2001. Dennis Tito, an American millionaire, paid $20 million to fly on a Russian spacecraft, and he spent over a week in orbit. But he was there purely because he could afford to go. He was not an astronaut by training. Prediction 2 is a very short scene. I'm giving it +1 point. It's an Iran Air courtesy bus, and I just think it hints to the normalizing of relations that took place under the Obama administration. Prediction 3 is priests and nuns marrying. In this particular case, to each other, and having priest and nun children, but just in general, priest and nun marriage. It's been talked about a lot. We're not there, but I think we're closer than before. So I'm only going to subtract 2 points. Prediction 4 is see-through clothing security scanners. This is a solid +3, as backscatter X-ray machines were removed from airports specifically because of privacy concerns. Prediction 5, we see a wall of payphones being heavily used. I'm going to have to take off 2 points for this. No matter what time this movie actually takes place, whether it's between 2001 or today, payphones weren't heavily in use. I suppose they were a little more in use closer to the turn of the century, but today you can't even find them. The scene from Prediction 6 may have been shocking in 1982, but +3 points for correctly predicting homosexuality would be no big deal today. Prediction 7 shows a mother being told there's a limit of 1 carry-on item. She chooses to check her baby instead of her bag. Luckily, I could find no references to this ever actually happening. However, I did find one case where a mother did put her baby through the X-ray machine that checks carry-on luggage. While it's not exactly the same, it's kind of close to what happens here. Plus, I do think there's merit in showing airlines beginning to get stingy with their luggage allowance. I'm going to give this +1 point. Prediction 8 can be seen as 3 predictions in one, and for that it does get 3 points. You can see security workers going out of their way not to profile people on the line. You can also see them failing to detect a number of weapons actually going through security. And finally, there's no shortage of reports of the TSA subjecting old women to embarrassing searches for no apparent reason. As someone who spent more than his fair share of time in hospitals, prediction number 9 is my favorite. I'm going to let you listen to it now.
I refuse to pay $2,000 a day for a hospital bed, rotten food, horrible nurses, rotten doctors. This is terrible.
What's his problem?
Scene.
The man's obviously crazy.
When I first heard this scene, I suspected but wasn't sure that $2,000 a day was a lot of money for a hospital bed per night in 1982. The first thing I did was ask someone I knew who was in the hospital in the early 80s, and that was my mother. She needed to do some research as well, but together we realized that the average price of a hospital bed was increasing quickly in the 80s. At the time of this movie's release, it was about $200 a night. So the $2,000 a night figure is indeed a prediction. Sure enough, looking up averages for hospital bed stays today, the latest data I could find was for 2015, and it indeed averaged $2,000 a night. This is a dead-on balls accurate prediction, plus 5 points. I wish I could give it more for the doctor saying he's obviously crazy at the end. Prediction 10 probably was just a joke, but it does show us still using fossil fuels, and coal in particular making a comeback. I'm going to give it plus 2 points, because if I was thinking what the future shuttle would use in 1982, I'd be thinking nuclear power. Prediction 11 is a movie poster for Rocky 38. I'm going to give this plus 2 points. Rocky 3 had only just come out 6 months before this movie. Since then, there have been 3 more Rocky movies and 2 Rocky spin-off movies, with Creed 2 coming out later this year. A teaser trailer is already available. Prediction 12 is a famous scene that needs no introduction.
Yes, I'd like this Time and Newsweek and a Lifesaver and the second time bomb on the right, please.
While you still can't buy time bombs in airports today, thankfully, what you can buy on the dark web with cryptocurrency is almost as scary. I'm only subtracting 2 points. The scene for prediction 13 starts off with the main character jumping out of the back of a truck. As he jumps, a camera flash is seen. He then runs past a person reading a newspaper into the airport. As the camera zooms into the newspaper, you see that the headline is the picture that was just taken that says "Madman on the Loose." I'm actually going to give this plus 2 points. And while it's not true that newspapers instantly update, certainly they captured the spirit of social media and instant news. Pictures go viral, live streaming as news happens. It's not in a newspaper per se, but it exists. Prediction 14 shows a scalper selling last-minute tickets at the airport. This is a -3. While there are websites that sell last-minute deals, there's simply nothing like a scalper at an airport. Worse, he even offers smoking, which simply isn't even available anymore. Prediction 15, you see a priest reading Altar Boy magazine, and he turns to open it to view a centerfold. I'm adding 2 points for this. It's a clear jab at the unfortunate situation of priest sexual abuse, but I think they were right. It's still happening today. It's still in the news, even this week. Prediction 16 shows a dog just sitting on a passenger's lap. I don't believe this was allowed in the 1980s, but to a point it is today. I'm giving this plus 2 points. These animals today are designated emotional support animals. Very little documentation is needed, but once on board they don't need to be kept in a cage or any type of restraint. Prediction 17 showed a kid being able to go into the cabin while the flight was in progress. That's a big no-no today. Taking off 2 points because it is still allowed before the flight takes off. The scene for prediction 18 is, well, just listen.
Do you think things will be a lot different on the moon, Dad?
Oh, it's gonna be terrific. A whole new world, new kids to play with.
Does that mean no more headlines about the rape trial?
How many kids get a chance to live on another planet?
No more kids yelling? Your old man's a psychopathic sex pervert?
Look, a man can make an honest mistake. Anyway, she was asking for it. They're all asking for it all the time.
To me, it sounds like a guy on the run from the Me Too movement. I'm going to give this 1 point for being surprisingly relevant today. Prediction 19 really wasn't difficult to predict, but it wasn't something you saw a lot of. I'm only going to give it 1 point as well. Here you see a couple of baby boomers who went to Woodstock as teenagers. Now they're older people, I'd say at least in their older 60s, and they're just talking about things they did when they were teenagers. It doesn't take a fancy degree to realize that yesteryear's teenagers would grow into the older people of tomorrow, but it just isn't seen all that often in movies. Prediction 20, you see a voice interface for the computer, and it is giving a sort of attitude.
There is no apparent overheat.
I'm going to give it 1 point, because if you have a Google Home or Amazon Alexa device, you might argue with it too. It just comes with the territory. Number 21 isn't quite a prediction, but it kind of sounds exactly like the world today. Here, listen.
Maybe in this mixed up, topsy-turvy world of ours, they should take all the, quote, sane people off the streets and lock them up and let all the psychopaths out of the asylums to run the world. No, I guess on second thought, that's a bad idea, Ted.
I have to say, hardly a day goes by where I don't feel the same thing has already happened. Although she retracts it immediately after saying it, I'm still going to give it 1 point. Prediction number 22 is a scary one, and it's getting a full 3 points. They realize they're at the total mercy of the computer, and what he describes are the fly-by-wire controls that most modern airlines and even many new cars have. You don't physically turn a wheel or turn a rudder. You just send signals to the computer and hope it does what you tell it to, and if it doesn't, you are out of luck. Prediction 23 is a simple headline. Says man has sex change, marries self. With today's climate, why not? I'll give it 1 point. It could happen. Prediction 24 is a public broadcasting show.
This country was run by vegetarian women rather than flesh-eating men. This whole space disaster would never have happened. You know, right now we're working to raise the consciousness of the vegetarian minorities with diet sensitivity training so that people will be able to deal with the...
This sounds a lot like modern social justice, blaming men and meat eaters for much of the world's problems. Plus, there's also the sign language interpreter, who clearly isn't doing sign language. There have also been modern examples of fake sign language interpreters interpreting big events. So between the sensitivity training and the fake sign language interpretation, I'm going to give this a full plus 3 points. It sounds like something I would see on YouTube today. Prediction 25, the final prediction, is for voice-activated doors. I thought this was going to be a negative point, but after some research, a quick YouTube search, there are indeed working voice-activated doors. I'm going to give this 1 point because they're not popular. I'm not even sure they're in commercial use, but they do exist. So there we have it. A total score of 24 points after 25 predictions. Using our FPI magic, we simply divide 24 by 25. Let's do some math. Computer, what is 24 divided by 25?
24 divided by 25 equals 0.96.
Thank you.
No worries.
So the FPI index for Airplane 2 is 0.96. And that is actually a good score. Throughout all the predictions, they were more right than they were wrong. This is just the first movie I'm analyzing in this way, so I hope with more movies and more scores, we can put any one movie in better context. But for now, 1.0 or 0.96 in this case is pretty good. With that, I'm going to leave you with my favorite scene from this movie.
Commander Murdoch?
What is it, Lieutenant?
Sir, the Mayflower's in trouble. She's coming in hotter than a firecracker, sir. Their computer's down, they've lost their crew, and they're flying on manual control, sir.
We better get to the tower, Lieutenant.
We have no tower, sir.
No tower?
Just a bridge, sir.
Why the hell aren't I notified about these things? Lieutenant, how would you handle this?
We could try ignoring it, sir.
I see. Pretend nothing has happened and hope everything turns out all right in the morning.
Just a thought, sir.
I've considered that. There's got to be a better angle.
I hope you've liked the video. Please like, comment, and/or subscribe. You can follow me at BirdoPrey5 on Twitter or Gab. And if you're bored, you can join my forum, juot.net. Thanks for watching, and Kapla!
Thank you.